We are Ann Arbor's Talk Station, 1290 WLBY. Back with us in the new year here, Damian Farrell from Damian Farrell Design Group, local architect.
Into our third year. Yeah. Good morning.
Three, really?
Into our third.
Wow.
We're striking into our third year. Isn't that incredible?
We still like each other.
Good thing there's tables between.
I love this man. I think he's a genius. You've brought, over the last few years, some really exciting people to this table as we talk about Michigan as a state of design and the importance that design has played in Michigan. And I have found that our state often doesn't ballyhoo its accomplishments as much as perhaps other states do. So I like learning about all of this.
It's been fascinating, hasn't it?
It really has. And today, especially so, with senior designer from Pweabic Pottery, Genevieve Sylvia, joining us. You have been with Pweabic Pottery for, what, 20 years now?
26 years, yes, almost 27.
You don't even look that old. So.
I know. I just said to Damian, I was teethed on tiles.
Yeah. For people that don't know the history behind this, it dates back to the early 1900s.
Early 1900s, 1903, we're celebrating our 110th year this year in the city, in Detroit, in that location. Mission being continuing our ceramic arts history there, moving it on to the next phase of our history, and educating. We've got a little museum there, our store, just an amazing, amazing place in the city.
How did it all start? This was an artist and teacher, Mary Chase Perry Stratton, and Horace James Calkins, her partner, who started this.
Right, Mary Chase Perry Stratton was a ceramicist, late 1800s, of course, in early 1900s. She was a china painter by trade. Horace Calkins was her neighbor after she came down from the UP after the death of her father. She was raised in Hancock, Michigan. And became acquainted with Horace Calkins, who respected her, collected her work. She had kind of branched out into her own, creating her own pottery, expanding and creating these magnificent glazes that we still make down at the pottery today. And he appreciated that and saw a real potential for himself as well, I think. He was a dental technician by trade. He had created a dental kiln that was to fire and make porcelain teeth.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So he thought, what a great combination. The ceramic artist who can bring my technology into studio potters who at the time really didn't have their own studio space. They had to share studio space.
And the history of that time in Detroit is so important as well. 1903 was about the same year that Cranbrook got going. Right. So you've got this extraordinary influence of the arts and crafts coming from England at that time, and then the English arts and crafts developing into the American arts and crafts. In some ways, it seems like a lot of it started here.
It's for us, it's a huge part of our history, of course. It's what people think of us as, kind of an arts and crafts pottery and extension of that movement. And her time in the early 1900s there, a lot of it was spent with the Cranbrook founders, the Detroit Institute of Art, the Creative Study founders, and she was an integral part of that. And really, we still continue to be, friends with all of these institutions in the city, architectural firms and these institutions.
The name Pewabic, Native American?
It's Native American. It's a Ojibwa or Chippewa word for copper or iron. There's been a little bit of dispute whether it means copper or iron. Over recent years, they've told us it's copper.
So did that have to go back to where she was from, up in the UP?
Okay. She was from the UP. Yeah. Her dad was the town doctor at Pweabic Mine.
Oh.
In Hancock, or around Hancock, Michigan. Okay. So when she came down, and when the pottery had first started, it had other names. It started out as a Revelation Pottery, because they were creating these Revelation kilns for Horace Calkins, and she would go out and kind of sell them. And then it settled finally on Pweabic, and again, that's a derivative of her connection with Hancock, Michigan, the UP, and the Pweabic Mine.
How long was she involved with all of this?
Mary was involved until her death in 1961. She was 91 years old. All of those glazes that she handled and used all those years. 91, and she really continued to be at the pottery, with exception, I think, the last 4 years of her life. But the pottery was really operational for that long.
And what is the distinctive look about Pweabic pottery?
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's it's the profile of the tile. For me, when I look at an installation, I can frequently say, no, look at the edges of those tiles, those soft, pillowy edges.
Right.
And then, of course, it's those glazes. It's those really hallmark finishes of the iridescent,
Right.
which I think people recognize as Pweabic right away. Those teals and turquoise and blues. And those are really, I think, the hallmark signatures.
And you've been able to keep these same glazes going? Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, they're similar glazes. They're not exactly the same. There's a little bit of urban legend that
That's
Mary,
good, right?
yeah, that is always exciting. I hate to dispel those things, but you know, we know that the glaze recipes. We have many of them. We have her day journals, everything, all of her orders, how much they cost, the glazes. But the glazes, the materials, the raw materials, you can't use those anymore.
Oh, that's okay.
They're
That's
raw
right.
lead,
Yeah, okay,
they're
right.
uranium.
Okay.
Yeah, the day we found a
Uranium.
container of uranium in the garage, that was an interesting day. Yeah.
Things slowed down a
Things
little
slowed
bit.
down a little bit.
But you know what? No one died back then, okay?
Exactly, she lived to be 91.
Yeah, right.
So we don't use, of course, those materials.
Yeah.
We're very careful about safe work environment and do our best in that building to have, you know, as clean an environment and air
It's
quality as
extraordinary that you've been
possible.
able to maintain that look then. A lot of research, obviously, and a lot of trial and error.
A lot of trial and error, and
Yeah.
that does continue today. I mean,
Yeah.
because those dry materials, like 100 years ago, they were different 10 years ago than they are now.
Yeah.
You know, they continue to change. Those dry materials come from mines all over the country. Those raw ingredients are shipped to the pottery, and you have to test those things. Because when somebody's ordering a teal glaze, you want to make sure it's coming out teal and not brown.
What determines the style, the design that you're going to be making?
Well, for us, you know, I work with interior designers, I work with architects, I work with the homeowner. So it's a collaboration really of communicating with those clients, with those customers to derive what's best for your environment. What are we creating there? What is, you know, the architecture of the home, the era of the home, and how do we best fit in that and gel with that? And that's what my effort is there.
And Pewabic tiles and pottery appear in numerous structures and homes throughout Detroit itself, not to mention other places.
Oh, right, hundreds and hundreds of places. I mean, we easily do 100 to 200 projects a year. Some of them are huge, like airport projects. Last year we did a mural project at the Detroit Children's Hospital. It is in their outpatient building. It's these 9-foot trees. It's a 90-foot wall.
Wow.
There are like 8 trees. It's just beautiful. So, you know, we work really hard to continue that legacy.
The tile out at the airport, I just love the one that's in the entrance to all of the restrooms. It's that
The bathroom
golden
pods.
satin color.
It's interesting.
Is that unique?
That metallic
particular-
finish is really unique, and
Okay.
it's really platinum. It's really a platinum finish that's applied over this
Oh my
underglaze.
goodness, really?
And that was a very large project for the pottery,
Yeah.
and excited. We did that with Smith Group.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
yeah.
one of our friends.
Yeah.
And those are interesting because they're reflective. That metallic material,
Yes.
of course, is reflective. They're actually silver, platinum,
Okay.
palladium, but because of the finishes that are around it, it has this kind of warm, golden, coppery glow.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous,
They are
and they're
gorgeous.
simple.
I still run my hand over it every time I'm out there.
It's such a tactile material.
It really is, yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is.
And
yeah.
in Ann Arbor, I think Michigan Union, Michigan, does the Michigan League, I think, have?
Michigan
Pweabic
League has
has-
a lot of
Yeah.
Pweabic,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so it's-
Guardian Building,
Uh-huh.
the DIA. I mean, there are homes in Barton Hills, of course.
Well, we've done many remodels with, we'll
Yeah.
see, oh, that's Pweabic around the
Yeah.
fireplace, so we'll see it
Yeah.
down in the
Love
threshold or
seeing
entrance
those.
areas.
Love
Yeah.
seeing those original
Yeah.
installations because you can't believe. You think 26 years, 27 years. You think I've seen it all. I've seen, and then somebody calls with, "I've got this tile," and you see, send me a picture.
Yeah.
You know where they are.
Yes,
And
indeed, right?
you know right away,
Yeah.
and you see something
Yeah.
new. You see something
Yeah.
different. I mean, last year I went to someone's home in Indian Village,
Mhm.
and they had these charming little 3x3 bird tile
Oh,
they had
sweet.
never seen, and then a little house landscape. So this year we're working on kind of reissuing.
Reissuing that one?
Yeah, we like to reissue. I mean, we do brand new things as well to contribute to that, you know, history and
I was
legacy.
going to ask about that. So your role as a designer is not just working with interiors. Are you working on tile design itself?
I do.
Okay.
I do, and it is a pleasure to do that, to be able to contribute to
sure.
the collection and know that this is going to be something that's in 50 years, 60 years, 100 years, people are going to hopefully be still buying and
So
seeing and
incredible
appreciating.
that even today you're coming across tile and design that the organization wasn't
Doesn't
aware
even
of.
know. I mean, our collection, history is a little not disconnected, but we had a period of time where it was run and operated by Michigan State. Am I allowed to say that here?
Oh. What do you mean by the state of Michigan or that place a little bit?
Right, that place a little further away. And they kept it open as an extension of their art program, which was terrific and wonderful. So the pottery really has never shut its doors in all those years. And but we did lose a little connectivity of our history during that period because they were cramped for space, and so some of our archives were kind of had to be pulled from different areas and reassembled. So we don't have knowledge of every single, you know, image. And this little bird and landscape tile is just something I came across. Somebody wanted a restoration, and I was happy to be working on it now.
A short run, a unique design for that particular client originally.
And so now I'm carving the tile for that. Yeah, it's
We're
exciting.
talking with Genevieve Sylvia. She's senior designer with Pweabic Pottery in Detroit, which was designated an historic place back in the early 90s,
Correct,
I remember.
1991.
And what is your background?
I'm a Wayne State graduate. I have an interior architecture. It was a very short-run program at Wayne State, but interior architecture degree with ceramics. How did I get such a perfect place in life?
Yes.
Yeah, really, right here in the city I grew up in, too, in Detroit. I feel incredibly fortunate.
When we look at places like Pweabic and like Motawi here in Ann Arbor as well, are those few and far between? And when you look at tile, when you go to one of the big box stores, are those all mass manufactured as opposed to what is hand done in places like Pweabic Pottery?
Right, yeah. I mean, the tile that you're finding at a tile shop or a manufacturer, distributor, are produced in a way that they're hundreds at a time, where we're really in the studio making a single tile at a time. It really is art tile. They're handled. You're mixing these, you know, glazes from its raw state with your recipe, all the way through, you know, the clay body to the glaze, testing that glaze. You know, it gets handled hundreds of times before it reaches anyone's home, and you can see that. You can see that in the tile, and that's what people really love about it and want about it.
And it has lasting beauty, right? I mean, this is designed for how long
These are, my standard line is, these are rated for floors, walls, interior, or exterior installations. But really, I mean, if you look at projects like at Cranbrook, how long have they been there?
And they've taken, that's taken some wear and tear, right?
Years. Floors, churches. I grew up in the city in Detroit, and I'm attending Mass as a kid, and I'm bored, and I'm looking down at the floor, never thinking that probably 30 years later, I get a call from the parish saying, "Oh, we need to repair these floors." I'm like, "Oh, I mean, I looked at these tile my whole life." It was Most Holy Redeemer, which is one of the biggest, most terrific installations. Yeah.
And how easy is that to repair tile?
Well, it's what I say is it's not a matching. We had the same tile profile. We had the same trim tile profiles. The glazes, of course, are somewhat different. We do our best to test to approximate her finishes when needed, and they look new. I mean, they've been walked on for 75 years. They've been cleaned. They've been waxed. They're dirty. They're beautiful still, and those were only in need of repair because they had structural damage, and so that damaged the tile. All the other tile around are in great condition. They're beautiful.